Welcome to the Introduction to Business, a flipped learning idea. The topic is big companies push for profit at the expense of workers, which will be our debate idea and focus. My name is Paul Friesen, and I'm the author and developer. I've been that for 20 years here in Korea. This idea of 3D learning has been an interest of mine for, many years. And I want students to think more dimensionally. Think in different areas. As a disclaimer, because I use stories from the internet, I put the URL in the beginning so that you can always check to see the original story by the original author, publisher, and check to see if what I'm doing is right, because I rewrite. So all rights go to the author and original publisher. The following is a rewrite of an article from the above URL. There is no guarantee the article is maintained on the page. So that may change over time. The internet seems to do that sometimes. It seems to change. In the discovery section, we discover what is known and what information needs to be expanded. We know. We have information here in our head. So we know. We don't always like to think about it. It's not something that we do all the time. But we see something, we want to challenge ourselves to see what we know. So the first challenge is to ourselves. Second is to build a larger umbrella to cover the topic. The umbrella is a narrow, kind of like this. It's narrow. And we want to make it bigger. We want to expand it with new information. And so it becomes a cover for our argument. All that information becomes the cover for our argument. And it's the door to critical thinking. And critical thinking is number one. We want to open the size through critical thinking, and we're going to revisit critical thinking again and again. Developing the argument requires a focus of information to base the initial statement, and yet broad enough to push the idea into current thought and culture. That means that the first statement that you find from the title or from the idea, what you're reading, the beginning idea, is broad enough to think about things bigger. It's easy to make things very small and narrow. It's easy to think in this narrow channel. But we want to expand it, deepen it, and like an umbrella, use it as a cover for our argument. The discovery phase requires students to present what they know. Many students will say, I don't know. And we don't want to hear that, because we do know. We need to. We need to have an opinion. And knowing a lot or a little is still knowing. So we want to form an opinion from a small amount of information that we might have. And that's what we want to do. With the guide, the book, and your teacher, and a friend, this discovery is expanded to have a broader range of ideas. So you start small and you get bigger. Just like this umbrella. It doesn't come out all by, it comes a little at a time, and in the end it will be big. The initial discussion, the beginning discussion, will be used as later building blocks. So we want to build some information. We want to research information. We want to discuss information. And so you take your notebook, paper or computer, and you start writing. And you write all the time. Building blocks for exploration and reference. Use blocks of information, not just a little bit, but blocks of information to tie the defense and the argument together. blocks. It takes information blocks, not just a sentence, but blocks of information, and you get that from research, you get that from your friends, and you put it all together so that your argument has not only an argument and of opinions, but rather you have some foundation which creates a stronger opinion and argument. You have to be attentive, which means you have to pay attention. What you hear, write it down. It doesn't matter what language you write. I can't even read my own writing sometimes. But writing it down, I take notes, and then I can go back and I can remember better. So note-taking is crucial. Pay attention. A lot of people, they listen and then they lose interest. You have to maintain this interest for the argument. The notes are constantly reviewed and challenged. Not only by you, but they're going to be challenged by the team. And you're going to go back and forth, hopefully. That is our goal. The team consists of several people. Hopefully, we have teams of 5 or 10. 5 is great if we can have more professors, more teams, then each team can take a side and the competition will be great. Building blocks of information to be tied of all people for both defense and rebuttal. So these several people, the building blocks of information, will all be tied to the defense of your argument, and not only defense, but also responding to the opposition. It is imperative, very important to know, there's never too much information. Never. The more information, the better your rebuttal, the better the foundation for your argument, and that opinion becomes very strong. The challenge, however, is to keep this large amount of information organized. And so we look at some organizations, graphic organizers, and we're going to talk about how to do some of these ideas. That way you have all your information in a category. You can find information easy. You don't have to look around at all the information. Just you know exactly where to go. Reading titles for information speeds research, allowing specific information to be found quickly and stored in a file. When you are reading, what do I know about the title? You can research, you can find information easily on Google or Naver or whatever you use. It is so easy. If you have good information, use that specific information, and research is easy. You can expand your argument, you can find information to rebut quickly. And so that's what we want to do. Start with the titles. Discovery is where the mass of ideas is flushed out, not flushed down, and discussed without barriers, requiring strong brainstorming skills. So when you're brainstorming, you're flushing out, you're exposing all these new ideas. And so we want to challenge and get those ideas out. It is at this point the foundation that is made to support the statement. That foundation that is made to support the statement. The statement is only a little bit of all this information around you. So that's what discovery is all about. In this book, in this booklet, pamphlet, you will find the initial story provides the base point. This story just begins the road. This is the beginning point, the start point of the road to the debate we want to have at the end. In other arguments, the statement may come first. Statements are just statements. Listen carefully to them. Make them precise. This would assume an initial level of critical thinking. And critical thinking is what we are going to talk about more than once. Looking at reading. When you're reading a story, read about it critically. Not for vocabulary, but from its idea. Do you agree with the idea? Do you not agree with the idea? Read for critical thinking. Read for argument. Therefore, the story that's in this booklet, the URL that I showed you before, is the whetstone. It's the sharpening stone for development. It sharpens your argument. It sharpens your opinion. It narrows it down. It's easy to cut carefully. And it makes your argument much stronger, your presentation. Skills developed and used in the discovery process are well, this didn't work very well, did it? This is note-taking and reading, critical thinking, reading and speaking. We'll have to fix that. In the next few weeks, we will discover how to read for information or argument. This is a flipped learning focus, meaning the student will prepare ideas at home. This is followed by sharing in class. You will need to do projects or research alone and discuss in the group. That's where we start. We start as individuals. What do I know? What is my opinion? Do I agree or disagree? Then you come to class and you challenge. Later to develop, every person in the team will have their own argument, and together you will present. That's the focus. We want to thank you for coming, and hopefully enjoy the classes and the videos. There are 10 of them, and then a little bit of time for preparation and the final debate. See you soon.